So once you have a well-defined strategy, you need to turn it into something tangible. This is done through a discovery and design workshop. Let's go and talk to Andy and find out more.
Ultimately, the aim of the workshop is to take a customer from strategy to sign off of a solution design. So following strategy and really having those requirements leveled out, you move those into the design and discovery phase. Having a real clear defined strategy helps to know exactly what you're going to be doing with the technology. And we really look at those in a design and discovery workshop. It's really key to think about how it's going to be implemented as well as how it's going to be used in future as well. So considering the growth of the company, the skill and capability of their users, and making sure that what we build is actually going to be a practical solution. So everything from the people there through to the actual processes that are involved in the workplace. So if the question was about uptime of the solution and the customer said it had to be up 100% of the time, we would need to really delve into the requirements there for why that was, because that can really affect the cost of the solution. Disaster recovery often goes hand in hand with sort of budget management. Having something that's up all the time can be very expensive to implement, and really understanding the needs for the exact parts of the components that need to go all the time can help us make sure that we do that in a cost-effective way to make sure that only the critical components are given that approach. So working in an agile method allows us the ability to be flexible with the ongoing project work. Having a very clear defined waterfall method for a project makes it difficult to adapt and sort of refocus midway through the project. From the agile methodology, we go from strategy, discovery, design through to implementation. That allows customers to come in at any part of the journey depending on where they're already at. Customers may already have strategy in place and not want to review that, so we'll come in at discovery looking at their requirements. The methodology allows them to start at any point and end at any point as well, so outputs of each stage will be a statement of work for the next phase, which they can either work with ourselves or work with someone else. So the question may be around the disaster recovery requirements, and we talk about the RTO and the RPO, which is recovery time objective and recovery point objective. And the customer at this point would establish how long they're willing for the solution to be down, and if it needed to be recovered from backup, how much they're willing to lose in terms of the data there. The output of that really is key to drive how rigid the backups need to be, how frequent the backups need to be, which can affect the cost of the backup solution. So to the question of how we measure the success of the solution, it can really depend per project, but generally we'll define some KPIs and metrics there that determine whether we've met that in terms of the design against their requirements. And it's really key to monitor those on an ongoing basis to make sure that the solution still meets those. And then obviously if it doesn't, we respond to that and make sure that we adapt. So the scope for the projects are quite interesting, so they can be anything from small-scale solutions all the way through to massive process-based and cloud adoption methodologies. We can do things from solutions in terms of a server-per-server requirement to deliver a website or an intranet for a company. The next week we could be working on something in terms of the cloud adoption process and the strategy for a company as to how they work with one of the hyperscale cloud providers.
If what you've seen here resonates, get in touch with one of our directors, Dave or Matt, and let's see where the journey takes us.